episode of Fluently Forward. Today on the podcast, we are having a chat with the guys from Hollywood Raw podcast, Dax and Adam. They have a very, very interesting career in the entertainment industry, and they've been in it for, I feel like a fraud talking to them. And I was so excited to have them on because, first of all, these guys are true Hollywood insiders. And secondly, I kind of cover the part of celebrities where it's blind items, it's words on a screen, it's rumor, it's a little bit of speculation. And Dax and Adam have full on met these celebrities. Sometimes they're really liked by them and they literally have them on speed dial. But I always think it's so impressive when, you can be in this industry and look people in the eye and talk to them and interview them. I have to admit, sometimes I feel like a little bit of a coward, right? Because we're covering these celebrities, never met them before in my life. And if I did see them on the street, there's a chance I would turn around and go into a coffee shop because I'd be like, I'm so embarrassed. I once spent 40 minutes talking about them yachting. I hope they never see me. So Dax and Adam have both worked for TMZ. They kind of come at it. I'll let them tell their own story as soon as we get into it here. But we talk about a host of different celebrities, the vibe that we get from people, or I guess the vibe I get from celebrities, and then their actual real life interactions with them. And then we also talk just a little bit about the world of celebrity tabloid culture, right? So which magazines are doing well, which ones aren't doing well? What does the future of paparazzi or street journalism look like? Why do people say that they hate the paparazzi but then call the paparazzi on themselves? What does the word paparazzi mean? And of course, we have a few blind items about different paparazzi encounters. There was a great story that was leaked recently by TMZ that said Angelina Jolie was the first one to tip off the paparazzi about her relationship with Brad. And we have a few more blind items, and I just kind of asked them for their professional opinion on all of this. So we are going to get right into the episode. Welcome, Hollywood Raw. All right, welcome to the podcast. Today we have on the guys from Hollywood Raw. We have Dax and Adam. Welcome to Fluently Forward, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, excited.
I'm excited to have you on. We both did an episode over on your podcast, and we were kind of talking about blind items and some of the recent in the news drama. And I love the layout of your podcast is really cool. You guys do like the top 10 every week, right? Where you go over, basically what's trending, and you guys give a little bit of your insider insight into, more of what's going on behind the headlines. So how did you guys come up with that concept?
That part was a little more organic. We started out, so our normal episode, we do like a Wednesday episode where it's like normally an interview. This week, our interview was you. It was really fun. Thank you for coming on. We got to ask you all about having us guess some of your favorite, most wild blind items. So that was a fun moment for us to try to guess it, but also for our audience to guess it. So no, we'll have either a media mogul or someone in the entertainment world or someone behind the scenes, a paparazzi, a celebrity. We kind of run the gamut. We knock down the fourth wall of Hollywood is really what it comes down to with our Wednesday episode. And then the Friday episode is, it's getting people caught up on anything they would have missed out on during the week. So it's a quick, here's the top 10 stories in entertainment news. We'll get you in, get you out in 25, 30 minutes, just so you can go into the weekend feeling like you know exactly what happened, the biggest stories that week.
I love that. And, I really want to get into you guys introducing yourself and, a little bit about your background, because you guys have been involved in this industry for such a good amount of time and have such a wealth of information. But I will say, I think you guys mentioned it on Dumois' podcast. You had on a guest who had a blind item, and I have a guess for it. It was a guest who talked about two celebrities hooking up in a steakhouse private room. Do you remember that?
Yes,
Yeah.
Stratus Morfogen. Yeah, he's the guy behind Philippe Chow. What else does he have, Adam? Like dumplings?
Yeah, he's
man.
just he was a guy who basically had all the celebs at his spots over the years, and he just Philippe Chow, which you're in New York, the spot. It became really cool with a lot of rappers because he was allowing all the rappers to it was the first place where you could actually go eat good food, listen to good music, and smoke weed at. So he kind of developed this scene there, and he basically had a story. He had a video of two celebrities having sex at his restaurant
In the VIP room.
in the VIP room, which is pretty cool.
Was there food involved? Were they like slapping each other with steaks or something?
I don't know. All he said was that he was contacted apparently by some media outlet saying that they knew that there was a video of two people. It was an A-list rapper and a budding Hollywood starlet having sex in the VIP room.
And this was 2007, I think, right?
2007, yep. And so he went back, he looked at the video, he goes, oh shit, I do have this. And he said he deleted it, so he didn't divulge who it was. There was a lot of guesses going around. I think I know at this point, but I'm curious to see who you guess.
Okay, well, budding makes me think it's someone different because I think when I listened to you guys talking, you said that it was a blonde Hollywood starlet.
Yes.
So it made me think Jay-Z and Gwyneth Paltrow because there have been so many rumors about them. People think she might have been Becky with the good hair. I remember doing a deep dive on them. I did not know that they had as close of a friendship as they have. And am I warm or am I cold?
So I can tell you my guess.
Oh, yes, please.
I've been so many people have thrown names at me at this point. Again, I don't know, but my guess is now Diddy and Sienna Miller.
Oh.
That's my guess. I've seen so many people respond and send me things, and that's what I am going with at this point.
We're like, me and Dax are like obsessed with Diddy. It's like it's Diddy and someone. It's Diddy and Cameron Diaz maybe. I don't know.
Yes.
So that's why it's definitely it's got to be Diddy for some reason. I don't know in my head. That's just what I'm convinced at. And I like Dax guess, and it was Cameron Diaz.
Okay. Well, I believe that. You guys make a good convincing point. And I would love for both of you to just kind of give a little bit of a background of who you are before we get into this episode. I would never probably want to call you like paparazzi because you guys are in the entertainment industry. You do interviews, you take photos of celebrities, but you also have relationships with these people, which I find so, I don't know, kind of like envious and admirable because I'm the creep who just looks at stuff online and I'm like, oh, rumors. You actually look these people in the eye, you talk to them. I think that's such a different side of like celebrity entertainment. So how did you guys both get involved in this world?
Go, Adam. You're up.
No,
You're
Dax,
way more interesting.
You start with your background, then it'll kind of lead into us.
So I got into the industry working for Extra. I interned at Extra, the entertainment show, which led into me getting my first actual job out of college at TMZ. And so this was before TMZ even launched. It was basically a concept that Harvey had. And I went up, introduced myself to him when I was interning. And he said, yeah, come on, like, why don't you go do a red carpet for me? I went out. I got to interview everyone, including Pink, Dennis Rodman, Kristen Cavallari, like everyone that night. I came back, brought the tape. And he was like, how the hell did you get all these people to talk to you? So that's really where my job trajectory started off. My first day that I had graduated from college, I started full-time at TMZ and worked my way up from I guess, just, what the hell is it called?
An intern, low level.
Not an intern. What do you
Associate.
start off as? What?
PA?
Yes, there we go. I started off as a PA at TMZ and then worked my way up to a producer role over there. And then I managed the clips clearance department. So I was the one basically looking at all the photos, videos that were sent in through either outside sources, through paparazzi. And I was deciding whether or not I thought they were interesting enough to pitch out to the newsroom. And so that typical style that you see on TMZ, like that morning pitch meeting, it's always been like that before the camera started rolling up until today. So I pitched them out, and then 12 years later, I decided I needed to move on from there.
Yeah, and I mean, what I've heard from, you guys on other podcasts too, is that you really got a look at all of the, not, to reference your name, raw photos. Like you would just see scores and scores of like insane photos that people would send in. What were like some of the craziest photos that you saw?
It was the most voyeuristic job you could possibly have.
I'm like drooling at the mouth. I'm like, oh God, what I would give.
Like when you have access to every single paparazzi website and all the like hundreds and hundreds of photos that were taken the night before, you're seeing all the the nip slips, the dick slips, the everything that are out
Any
there
buttholes?
uncensored.
Any little like butthole
Oh,
slips?
there was some buttholes too.
There
for
we go.
Sure.
There we go.
But just like any time, you see that famous photo set of like whatever, Justin Bieber out in Bora Bora, or him hiking through and it was like all the naked photos, but you're seeing the set. So you're not just seeing one photo, you're seeing everything that led up to it, plus all the things that were past it. And it was really a fun job. I'm trying to think of some of the bigger sets that I have seen. I mean, oh God, there's
How many,
so many.
Dax?
There's
How many
so
people
many
doing
nip
like
slips.
drugs? By the way, like drug or like, man, this is rough.
Drugs, I feel like were more of like a one-off photo that was sent in from someone at a club. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Not necessarily paparazzi content, but more of someone who was there, caught them doing something, and you would send in one shot. But the paparazzi stuff was like, oh, that's when Lindsay Lohan was getting out of a boat in Venice and flashing without her underwear. You know?
Well, it's also
I've
funny
seen
too,
all
like
the-
the morality of gossip over the years. Like I remember growing up, all these magazines at the grocery store, there would be up the skirt photos, and I think if that happened now, everyone would say like that's such an invasion of privacy. But then at the same time, people think it's not an invasion of privacy to like go through someone's Twitter for the last 20 years or to stalk their family members on Facebook. So I think it's really interesting how there's some parts of like being creepy with celebrities that we're like, oh, I'm better than that. And it's like, like, I don't know. We were doing crazy stuff like just 8 years ago.
Well, that on that note, one thing that I don't like is the negative sentiments towards paparazzi. Because I feel like there's a lot of camera guys running around that are getting amazing content, but in the street they get heckled not by celebrities but by people, or like, what are you doing? What kind of job is this? And I'm thinking, but you guys are the connoisseurs of all of their content. Like the people that are checking out every entertainment website and looking to see where their favorite celebrities are at and watching their every move, they devour the content, but then would turn around and look at the person in the eye that took that photo and say, you suck at your job. That's what I don't understand.
It's like those guys online who are like, oh my God, like you're such a whore. And it's like, well, you're watching my pornography video and then commenting something crazy on my
Exactly.
Instagram. So people also, I think that there's such a spectrum of everything in life, right? There's like great accountants and then there's people who embezzle. Like there's such a spectrum everywhere. And you have, paparazzi, right? Who, and I was just talking about this on TikTok. I met Miley Cyrus a couple years ago for this like volunteer thing I was doing, and her bodyguard at the time was someone who used to be a paparazzi or paparazzo, whatever. And he just hated the way that she was being treated, so he quit his job and became her bodyguard instead. So then that way he knew how to like, I don't know, protect her from crazy photographers and things like that. And you see videos of paparazzi really crossing the line, but then you see videos of paparazzi being really thoughtful and kind. And at the end of the day, celebrities are calling these people for photos. Some of them, other people are hiding from them. But I just think it's a spectrum, right? Like nothing's ever black and white.
100%. But Adam's job is way more interesting, so go to him.
Yeah. So how did you get your start, Adam?
Yeah, I graduated. I had a degree in communications, aka pretty much no job when you graduate. And I had a degree with that. I think I was going to get a job. At the time, I was interning at the Howard Stern show, and unfortunately, it was at the time I was at Sirius, and I was at K-Rock. I went to Sirius with them. There was a lot of stuff going on. And I was so excited to get a job, and I didn't get a job. And then I went 2 years, and I couldn't get a job. Went back to school, got my teaching certification. Couldn't get a job, couldn't get an interview. And then I did I was a stand-up comic all through college. I did that at night. That's why I went to a local school around New York City so I could do stand-up at night. I did a show. Someone in the crowd said, "You seem funny, non-threatening, and you know pop culture. Would you be interested in a job at TMZ?" I said, "Listen, I'll do anything for health insurance." And at that time, like I knew like where celebs were going. It was like Perez Hilton was really big, and I would love Page Six. So like I always read that stuff, and I was always, I grew up like a lot of suburb kids with a Star magazine near the toilet, and I just read all those magazines. So I retained all this useless knowledge. And I even know paparazzi really kind of existed in New York City. So I kind of fell into doing this job. I got a 2-week trial at TMZ, and I even know what it was. And it was just fell into it. And I did a 2-week trial, and I didn't get arrested, and I was pretty normal. So then I got a 3-year contract, and I basically ran around the streets of doing celebrity interviews in New York City. So I did that for probably about like 7 years and had
By the way, when
You
you
know,
say run, like would someone say, Lindsay Lohan is here? Do you hop on the subway? Do you physically run? Like how do
both.
you? Yeah.
It's so physical that it's pretty insane. Like it's a workout in itself because I am running. Every second counts. And you're a split second from being a hero and a zero because I don't have these interviews set up. Like I'm not the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. I'm not
Yeah.
Live with Kelly where like they're scheduled. Like I'm trying to work around them. So I am on a bike. I'm on a skateboard. I'm running around. I am running around the city. I'm running on the subway. I mean, it's pretty. It gets very physical. How much I've ran with I've actually ran with celebrities like
Who
Conor
was that
McGregor.
politician that you like literally ran with?
Elizabeth Warren. I ran
That's
with
right.
I ran with Elizabeth Warren, and that video went everywhere. That was like on CNN and Late Night with Seth Meyers. I've ran with Floyd Mayweather. I ran with Conor McGregor. So like I got to keep up with these people, but yet again they're talking to me. So I had like really good success. Like when I first started doing this, I didn't know if I felt like a good person doing the job. Like Dax, like you guys were talking about. I didn't know like if I felt like I was being too intrusive or I felt like I was being a dick. And I had to kind of use my comedy background to kind of relate to these celebrities and kind of befriend them. And I'm fortunate I started at a really good time where, my strategy was where I wanted every single time Kim Kardashian, Shaquille O'Neal, Oprah, Gwyneth Paltrow, Johnny Knoxville comes to New York, I want them to know my face. I want them to be like, hey, that guy wasn't so bad. And that's what kind of really helped me out, where I just kept running into these celebrities. I just wanted to make sure I crossed paths with them so they'd get to know me.
Did you ever think of doing, like, I always think certain celebs or certain artists get popular because they have a distinguishing trait, like Billie Eilish having those green streaks in her hair. Have you ever seen paparazzi do something where maybe they get like a face tattoo or they dye their hair orange, so then that way they're like, okay, every time the celebrity sees me, like my hair will stand out, they'll know to go to the orange hair guy?
You know what? My strategy was to be like, I would hit on guys, I would hit on girls. I would befriend them. I wouldn't be like very serious, like, yo, what up, my dude? And then they'd be like, who is this guy? And then like I would just act like I was friends with them, even though I wasn't, or they didn't know me, but it was just more of a friend approach. Like, yo, what up, dude? And I think they respected that, like, hey, what's up, man? Like, I think I kind of like, it kind of confused them a little bit. Like, do I know this guy? Which a lot of people I don't. And I was just like, hit them with like a fun question. I think if you get that first question, it was like just a fun, and they realized it wasn't so bad. And then, fortunately, they would start to see the interviews on YouTube or on TV, and they'd be like, oh, that wasn't that bad of a gig. That wasn't bad. And
he makes people look good. At the end of the day, there's a lot of camera guys out there that are trying to get the shit out of people, like trying to make them look bad. Adam, every interview he does makes the celebrity look good.
Yeah,
So I think that they appreciate that. At the end of the day, they walk away and they see it on TV and they go, wow, I looked good because he made me look good. He asked me the right questions, or he made me look funny, or whatever it is. And I think a lot of celebrities really respect that about Adam.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Dex. I was always just trying to have a fun interaction. It wasn't really like, I feel like a lot of paparazzi, and this is why some of them got the bad stereotypers. Like, you had to ask about something messed up, and they had nothing to do with, like, I don't want to speak about it. I don't want to, I don't care about that. But I would just ask like questions that I was actually interested in, or I want to have a fun interaction with them. Like, I was like, hey, Aretha Franklin, how do you spell respect? And she, RESPECT. Like, I just thought that was cool. So I would like always sing with her, and I would sing with Michael Bublé and Wyclef, and I would just like to have these fun interactions on the street where it was just like a ghetto Jimmy Fallon in a way. And it got bigger, and I had, some pretty cool experiences. Like, Beyonce put me in a music video to, befriending a lot of the celebrities. And, I did TMZ for a long time. Then I left them, and I realized, like, I could still do it. Like, I don't really need them. I get, and that's what I do. I run around the streets doing these celebrity interviews, and I play some different media outlets. And, I have relationships with a lot of these, I shouldn't say a lot of them, but like, I get to know them. Like, people don't see when the camera goes off. I always try to talk to every single celebrity. I always try to talk to them when the camera goes off. So it's funny. Like, I get, like you guys said, people will talk shit to me on YouTube or and like, you don't see when the camera goes off that we're actually talking like normal people. Like, it's actually cool. And I always let them know I appreciate them.
What they don't see is that Oprah is like, Adam, come here, and she gives him the time of day, which is huge. Oprah, who could literally sit down with any interviewer on the planet, she knows Adam by name and respects what he does, or The Rock, or John Cena, or Kevin Hart. I mean, you could list off 100 people that love Adam and love to do interviews with him. It's amazing.
Yeah. I mean that's also like I said before, you guys are actually meeting these people, looking them in the eye. Just like there's so many keyboard warriors who are like, this is the way it should be or shouldn't be. And I've even gotten that just in this circle with influencers where someone will be like, I don't like this influencer. And I'll be like, well, I've sat down with her for 2 hours, which like says more than the vibe you're getting from her videos. Because when you meet someone in person, you really can tell what they're about. Is there anyone celebrity wise that you've met in person where you're like, I just got the best energy or the worst energy from them in like an inexplicable way?
You know who has really good energy? Paris Hilton.
Really?
That girl's got some amazing energy. She's so cool. She gets such a bad rap because I think people love to just hate on her. But she's actually like a beautiful person and really friendly and kind and all these things. And I think people just look at her as like stuck up or whatever because that is the persona she plays.
The
you know,
t-shirt,
as, like,
the stop
rich
being poor
heiress
t-shirt. Yeah.
that looks like she's so into herself. That is a role, but like when you really like hang out with Paris, she's awesome. I think Kim Kardashian, also a beautiful person, very smart. People love to hate on her and rag on her, but like if you were at a party and you sit down with her and talk with her, she's fucking awesome.
So nice. She's a
Yeah.
great person. Like she's sweet. She's nice. She's cool. She's very. I mean, it's crazy to say this, but she's very down to earth. Like it's. And when people badmouth, it's just easy to badmouth. We will never badmouth the Kardashians because they're honestly they're very nice people. Like they're nice people. They're good to their fans. Like they're great.
They're so
But there was
savvy.
there was like a Megyn Kelly, I think she sometimes talks about celebrities, clip that I saw on TikTok where she was basically saying, I have nothing bad to say about the Kardashians, the individual, but the Kardashian brand I think is harmful. And I think, it's making girls insecure and things like that, which I do think there's such a distinction. But I've heard that a lot about Kim Kardashian. And I think maybe Dax, it was you who has said that you haven't gotten the best vibe from Taylor Swift. So I'm curious about, speaking about celebrity videos, when that phone call with Kanye West happened, were you guys Team Kim? Were you Team Swift? Were you like, oh, I could have seen this coming?
I'll say I'm not Team Kanye.
Yeah.
But I am not Team Taylor either. I think with Taylor, what I don't like is there's like two totally different Taylors that you see. You see like the public facing Taylor, and then you see like this like Taylor behind the scenes where it doesn't seem like she is the nicest person on the planet. And I know she's got a ton of fans and they'd be all pissed and all this stuff, but like Adam equates it and I equate it to how your team treats the world is also a big reflection of you. And she has a really shitty like security team around her, and I think it says a lot about her, and how they treat her fans, how they treat camera guys, how they treat just people in general. They're not nice. And I think when you get like a Brad Pitt, he tells his security team, I need you to be nice to the people that are out here waiting for me because I want that to be a reflection of me. That is not what she has set up for herself.
Interesting.
And I also think you see she gets into a lot of different disagreements with a lot of people because she's always so concerned about her reputation. And she's, like she said, she's kind of a snake, at the end of the day, behind the scenes.
Well, I thought it was
don't
funny
like that.
in her Reputation era where she was like, I went to the concert and beforehand they're playing Bad Reputation and it's like blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, girl, like I love the aesthetic, but no one cares more about their reputation than you. You know what I mean? Most celebrities do. It has to be in your DNA. If you don't care about your reputation, you don't survive.
And don't get me wrong, she makes fucking great music.
Great
her
music.
is awesome.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna knock her music. I think her music's great. It's catchy. She is a massive talent when it comes to music. I am just not a massive fan of her personal side.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you guys get to say it once again. You have the personal experiences.
I agree with Dax. I don't like Taylor's not one of those people I'm friends with by any means, but I've been around her presence for a long time, for more than a decade now, and it's it's not even just her, it's like the people around her, it's the brand around her, and they don't, they're not just great people. And I think it affects her, and it's that's why I'm just not, I can't be Team Taylor.
And is that for most celebrities, like, is it the norm for them to have a shitty team, or are most people like the Brad Pitts and the Taylor Swift team is more rare?
So I always say you could judge a person by their team. If their team is cool, then they're cool. If the team is laid back, it's because their boss is laid back, the celebrity. Like, for example, like Miley Cyrus. You met Miley Cyrus. Miley Cyrus is fucking cool.
Very
like when you meet
cool.
her, she's like, it's funny. I've met a lot of celebrities, and I don't say that as a douche. I say it just because for what I do, I meet a lot of celebrities. And there's very few celebrities that I've met that have an it factor. There's something in them where you feel it, like the energy changes in the room. Like you see their posture changes when they walk. Like their shoulders are back, their chest is out because they know who the fuck they are. And Miley Cyrus is one of them. But she's also very cool. She's good to the fans. She's nice. And then you see that with her team where they're more laid back. Like, does she have security? Yeah, but they're not like hyper active and going crazy because they know their boss is going to be chill and knows, like, they know how to work with their boss where they're laid back. Same thing with, someone like Shaquille O'Neal. Like, Shaquille O'Neal is like one of those guys where he's just such a good person, where he's so great and he really is a superhero, where he's one of those guys where the way I look at Shaq, and like I think in my head, like, does he even know who he is? Like, does he even know how famous he is? Because he's so normal. And here's a crazy story about Shaq. Like, Shaq's one of the few celebrities who I've gotten to know over the years and become friends with. And I was in a car with Shaq one day, and we're like running around doing media. And I'm with Shaq. We're in New York City. We're in a black Escalade. Like, I'm not that life, And it's lunchtime. And I'm thinking we're going to go to Nobu or Tao or Catch or someplace cool for lunch. And he's trying to think. I'm like, so he's like, yeah, where should we go for lunch? And I'm thinking, yeah, we're going to like the hottest spot. And we're going to Carbone. He's like, yeah, let's go to Boston Market. I'm like, what? And I'm like, what? You want to go to Boston
cheese.
Market? So we went to like Boston. Like, he just doesn't even think about it. Like, and he's so nice. He's so nice to everyone. And it's just, honestly, when you meet those type of people, it's honestly, I can even get emotional talking about it because they're just such good people and they make people's day. And a guy like Shaq has like made my career, really. But it's, I know we're kind of going off going in a weird circle right now. But yeah.
But I think it factors in. Once again, it's one of those things you only experience in person, so you guys will experience it. I probably never will. They'll be like, keep this conspiracy theorist the fuck away from us. But but I have heard stories. I've heard that Lizzo has a real presence. I've heard, obviously, that Bill Clinton is like insanely charismatic. And I don't know if you guys have ever met Jeff Bezos' girlfriend, but I've heard that she is like...
Are you talking about Lauren?
Yeah, like you talk to her and you feel...
Lauren was like a local Fox anchor. I had met Lauren numerous times. She's awesome.
Did she make you feel very special? I've heard that like when you talk to her, you're like, wow, what a woman.
Yeah, she has a presence, definitely different than like a Miley Cyrus or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, she definitely has a presence. Very like wonderful human being. From what I can remember, obviously haven't talked to her since she hooked up with Jeff Bezos, but no, she's really cool.
Yeah, I saw her recently. I shouldn't say I saw her. What was it, like Met Gala? The Met Gala, I think. That's the last time I saw her. But Lizzo's very cool. Bill Clinton's actually interesting because Bill Clinton, he's very normal. He's very nice. And when he like walks, let's just say you see his car pull up and he's going into a building, the security will say, just like, stop what you're doing. And the Secret Service, he still has Secret Service with him. They'll tell you to like stop where you are, and just like he walks towards you and he'll shake your hand, he'll do a photo with you. Like he understands his job.
Oh, do you get Secret Service for life after you've been a president?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ex-presidents.
God, that's nice, isn't it? Okay.
Yeah, actually, I'll come back to the Secret Service about that. But then, who was last one? We said Bill Clinton. So Bill Clinton is cool because he has Secret Service with him. But the Secret Service is very good security. Like they know their roles. So like they'll just come up to you like, hey, just don't move for a second. Do me a favor. And then you listen to them. And then they know their rights. They know what you're allowed to do. And Bill Clinton comes to you and shakes your hand. And who was the last person you said besides that? Lizzo, Bill Clinton.
And
so Bezos. So Lauren Sanchez. I saw them during the Met Gala. And same thing with his security, like Bezos' security, where it's funny actually. I was in Soho and I was at where the Apple store is on
Prince Street,
on
yeah.
Prince and whatever is green maybe. And I'm near and I see this SUV pop around the corner. And I could see like right away the security guy locks eyes with me, and somehow he knew. We both knew like, oh, like you're caught. I caught you. Like, and I just run like that car stops 50 yards, and I run down the street because I knew something was up. It was two cars, two black Escalades, and who gets out is Bezos. I'm like, oh shit, Bezos.
Which, by
And,
the way, when this happens, do you like whip out your iPhone? Do you always have a camera with you?
No, I have a camera. It's not even
Okay.
a big. I don't even have it. It's like over there, but it's not a big camera. It's not small, but it's not big. It's in my book bag. So security comes out and they laugh. They're like, "Oh, we knew as soon as we locked eyes who like you were up to something." I was like, "Yeah, it's the Met Gala weekend. There's a bunch of people in town." So actually, I wound up like hanging out with the security. Like they were super cool, and then they're like, "Are you guys gonna follow?" Like they asked me, "Like, are you gonna follow us to the next spot?" Like it's fine if you do. I was like, "No, it's cool. Like I'm not. I'm just gonna shoot it here." And the security was just like, "Yeah, we're gonna park right here. They'll let you know when they're walking out, and you just get your shot." And that was it. So Bezos and Lauren walked out, and he ignored me completely. He did like this fake phone trick, but she like smiled and like she, they were very sweet. They're very nice. Like obviously the security knows. Like I always tell security, don't worry about me. Like this is my weapon, a camera. I'm not gonna get too close. I know what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna jump in front. I'm not gonna go crazy. So I stood to the side. I tried talking to them. They ignored me, which totally understand. And they got into the car, and that was it. But she was nice. Like I could just, she wasn't a dick by any means. Like they're not gonna talk to me, and that's totally fine. But they did their thing. They walked. They didn't hide their face. Security walked alongside them. They didn't block me or get physical with me, which was very cool.
There are so many things in life that we want to start, but we're afraid of debt holding us back. This could be having money for the wedding of your dreams, the honeymoon of your dreams. Maybe you want money to freeze your eggs, anything like that. If there's anything you're getting started on in life where you don't want credit card debt to hold you back, it doesn't have to. Now is the time to pay off your credit cards, especially since interest rates are on the rise, and you can pay off your credit cards faster with the low fixed rate loan from Lightstream. A credit card consolidation from Lightstream can help you pay off your credit cards and lock in a low fixed interest rate. Rates start at 5.73% APR with autopay and excellent credit. Plus, the rate is fixed, so it will never go up over the life of the loan. So just for my listeners, you can apply now and get a special interest rate discount to save even more. The only way to get this discount is to go to lightstream.com/fluently. That's lightstream.com/fluently. This is subject to credit approval. Rates range from 5.73% APR to 19.99% APR and include 0.5% autopay discount. The lowest rate requires excellent credit. Terms and conditions apply, and offers are subject to change without notice. Visit lightstream.com/fluently for more information. Something that I've heard is I was going through... Somebody did an AMA on Reddit who was Paparazzi, and they were talking about, people were just asking them questions and things like that. And somebody asked them this question where they said, I heard that Daniel Radcliffe basically made all paparazzi photos of him worthless because he wore the same clothes every day, making it look like all photos taken of him were done on the same day. What are other clever ways that celebrities have burned the paparazzi or things that they do to make their photos worthless? So A, have you heard that about Daniel Radcliffe? And then also B, I know Taylor Swift sometimes puts an entire umbrella over her. What do people do to not have their photo taken?
So here's the thing is, when it comes to paparazzi, male actors don't really sell. People don't care about men, especially,
Yeah.
because paparazzi at the end of the day, what they care about is either news story or fashion. So they want women and they want fashion. Guys aren't fashionable. Paparazzi don't care about Daniel Radcliffe. If he's walking around with a girl and maybe they're holding hands and being affectionate, yeah, they'll get the shots because it's something to do, but they're not going to go crazy for it.
Well, you got to remember though, back in the day, he was the biggest star on the planet.
Okay,
when
so
the
back in
Harry
the day-
Potter series were going crazy.
But here's what Daniel Radcliffe did do. He did sign autographs, and he made sure to sign a ton of autographs. So basically, his autograph value would go, is it still worth money? 100%. Are guys going to still chase him for autographs? 100%. However, he signed a ton of autographs, so the value would kind of drop, so he wouldn't get hounded as much. So, like, after his Broadway show, you would see tons of people when he was on Broadway there to get autographs from because they know he would sign. But the value of the autograph dropped because he signed so many. Because he, number one, he's a nice guy, and number two, I think he just didn't want to be like people just going following him all the time for autographs and stuff. So, yeah.
I think a lot of people, they used to flip off the camera because that would
They wouldn't put
essentially in
that
their
in.
mind make it not valuable because a lot of the TV shows obviously couldn't run it and all that. And then I think there was a bit of a switch because then celebrities flipping off a camera started to make all the blogs. So they're like, fuck, if I flip off the camera, now I look like an asshole. So I saw a lot of that. The umbrella is, yes, obviously a trick. And Taylor can go either way. She can do literally a runway outside of her house where the car parks and no security follows her in so that everyone can get this like perfectly clear shot of her in her whatever she's wearing as she walks in or out. Or she does the full umbrella cave where she's inside of it and
It's so
they
funny.
like take her inside. So
Well-
it's really her mood whether she wants to have all the fans see her or not.
Yes. Well, what you say about that is interesting because I, obviously pulled some paparazzi blinds, and there was one here that NT said about photos of Harry Styles and Olivia Wilde. So he basically said, if you have been reading the site for a while, you'll know the rules of Paparazzi 101. They clearly state that if the celebrities have called the paparazzi, and if at all possible, the celebrities will pose in a street rather than the sidewalk. The reason is that there are people on sidewalks but none in the street. It makes for a much clearer photograph. So where do you suppose the foreign-born former A-plus list boy bander and his actress/director girlfriend were when the paparazzi caught them holding hands? The street, the middle of the street to be exact. So are there some things where, like, if you see a photo of people in the middle of the street, they called, that was planned, it wasn't candid?
So I've never heard that. Adam, have you
Oh.
heard that? I've never heard that.
I have not heard that. I mean, it
I would
doesn't
say
really.
if
I
you
don't
see
know
them
that.
inside a drugstore holding up a coconut water while they're walking around,
The brand out.
literally inside,
Label out, yeah.
a Dwayne Reed, you know that there's something up that doesn't seem normal because most photographers can't get into a store to take photos of you walking down an aisle.
Okay.
That to me
yes.
seems like a setup paparazzi photo.
Okay, but the middle of the street thing, you guys haven't
I've never heard
before.
that.
I
And
never
I've
heard the. Yeah, I've never
Worked
heard
with
that.
a lot of paparazzi. I've worked with a lot of agencies. In New York, every 4 seconds you're crossing over a street. You know
what? I think this would have to be for LA, where, like, for example, when one of my favorite.
we don't have people on sidewalks in LA, so that wouldn't count.
Yeah.
No one's walking around LA that much.
Pedestrian vibe is very different over there.
It's very different.
But I'm also curious about, like, your favorite iconic paparazzi shot. Like, when I think of Shawn Mendes and Camila Cabello walking with the empty coffee mugs on the street doing their COVID walks where they would just like lounge around in their PJs and then go back into the house. To me, I'm like, well, first of all, my friend Emily Rose pointed out the coffee mugs were empty. So, like, it's very obviously staged. And that was in the middle of the street. So other than being in a store, are there any, like,
if I remember
typical-
though,
yeah.
didn't their house there was no sidewalk on there, like outside their house?
Oh,
right?
you know what? I'll have to look into it. Maybe there
I
wasn't.
think they were in the hills where it's like just roads.
streets. Okay.
So
Or was it Miami? I don't know.
I don't remember. I feel like they had both. I feel like there was LA shots and Miami shots.
Okay.
Depending on where they were at the time. I would say my most iconic photo of all time, because I lived through 2007 at TMZ,
Wait,
was definitely Brittany Lindsay in Paris.
Dude, I knew I was gonna say the same exact thing. It was gonna be something with Brittany. Mine was just the shaved head, the anger in her face with the umbrella. That to me was like, man, that was just.
No, seeing the three of them fit into that
Is
black
that car
Mercedes
photo where I
was
think people
just-
have turned it into like such a meme over the years too. It's kind of like the Last Supper, but like for celebrities.
I remember waking up because I was at the office at like 4:45 in the morning to try to catch up with New York time because we were always 3 hours behind, you know. And I remember that looking, and it was a company called Bauer Griffin who got that photo. And I was like, holy crap, the three of them hung out. Oh my God, they went in a car together. Oh my, like it kept building. I'm like, this is going to be the best pitch ever. The three queens of the night are basically out hanging together. Like that was such a big deal that night. And I remember it.
Well, you
like it
also
was
don't
yesterday.
get like who's in a post-COVID world, maybe this is it, but like who's partying anymore? Like I don't ever see any photos of
It's
celebrities
so different.
partying.
Yeah, you can't even compare 2007 era to today. It's not the same. The night clubbing, the stars. I mean, I don't know who you would have in a car that everyone would care that much about at this moment.
Maybe Selena, Justin, and Haley, and all three of them are kissing, and you're like, what?
Would that photo sell better, or would Brad, Angelina, and Jennifer Aniston sell better?
Probably maybe still the Brad one. Like there's something about that original love triangle that's just like so ingrained.
Especially since they hate each other right now.
Yes. Okay, another question I have for you guys is I'm so curious about the reputation of different magazines. And Adam, I think you mentioned Star Magazine. Do you guys know Shallon Lester at all? She used to work for Star Magazine and now she's a YouTuber.
I'm not familiar now.
Okay, so she's in the space. She used to work for Star. And I feel like you have TMZ, you have Daily Mail, you have Page Six, you have The Sun involved in all of these different lawsuits. People, Us Magazine. Which media companies do you look at and you're like, oh, they're legit, or they're just paid for, or they're super messy, or they're super clean, or do they all have a shared reputation?
I love Daily Mail personally.
Okay,
I'm a
they
big
get
fan
good
of Daily Mail.
photos. Good photos.
They've got great photos.
They got a good budget too
lot-
because they could buy photos. So they
lots
have
of
a lot of
lots
money.
of content for days and days and days. You can easily get lost on their website, and I think that's why they're crushing everyone right now, because it is a great website. I'm still a fan of TMZ. I mean, I worked there for so long, and I know all the people behind the scenes, and I feel like they're just crazy hard workers. So TMZ's on my regular checkout list as well. People in Us, I like them as much. I don't check them like I do Daily Mail or TMZ though. And then beyond that, I don't. Those are kind of my top four, I'd say.
See,
Okay.
Dax is like in the West Coast, so he doesn't really. I mean, you do, but like we grew up in the East Coast. Page Six is, I love Page Six, and I love about Page Six because it's not just celebrity; it's a lot about socialites, and those sometimes I care more about than just the celebrity. But I think
do rate a lot of Page Six because he sends me Page Six.
I send Dax Page Six all the time. I love Page Six. I just think I've gotten to know some of the people behind the scenes, and I know like they put a lot of thought in between their stories. I just know when it comes to work, they're actively like they're not going to just throw stuff up. They're like very persistent in finding out both sides and calling sources, and sometimes it's like they're a little bit late because they wanted to make sure they got it right. So yeah.
I feel like Radar has come a long way over the years.
Radar's been good too.
I was not a fan of Radar for a very long time. Now one of our good friends is actually the editor-in-chief of Radar, and I feel like he's changed a lot, like made it a lot more credible and doing legitimate stories and news reporting, and he's really well connected. We actually had him on our podcast last week. His name's
Ryan Nauman.
Ryan Nauman, but he worked at TMZ for a very long time.
Yeah,
and he's worked at basically everywhere. So I feel like he's also helped to make Radar a lot more legitimate.
Yeah, Radar is done a lot better because Ryan Nauman is like a G when it comes to like kind of entertainment news. So they've got a lot stronger. The Blast as well with Mike Walters. Mike Walters is literally the backbone of TMZ for years, and he just knows stuff with courts and breaks a lot of stories in the court system. So, shout out to The Blast and Mike Walters. Ryan Nauman, those guys are crushing it.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious. I know you guys are a little bit maybe more like photo oriented. I'm a little bit like I'm all about the words. And whenever I read these articles, let me know if this would be in your wheelhouse. But anytime somebody says that a celebrity is very much in love, to me, I'm always like, okay, publicity. Like that's a PR person giving a quote. If you just type in the phrase very much in love in Google, all that pops up is celebrities. And anytime a new celebrity is announced, the quote is always they're getting to know each other or they're very much in love, very much in love. And like it's just not a phrase people use, right? Like I wouldn't text
Yeah.
someone and be like, I went on this Hinge date and I'm like very much in love with him, you know? Like it's just insane. So are there any phrases that when you see them, you're like, oh, like these always come from PR people or publicists. This is just like a canned phrase that they use for celebrities.
That's a good question.
It's a great question.
I've honestly never thought about it.
I feel
but
like it's
now that
very,
you
yeah.
say it, I know that there's been moments where I'm like, oh come on, people don't talk like that, or people don't say that. I just wish I
feel
had
like
an
schedule
example I could give you.
conflicts is like another one when people break up. They're like, oh, just like so many schedule conflicts. And I'm like, okay,
Right?
so like you're not going to tell us anything.
Or
They're
when they say exhaustion, you're like, okay, drug
drugs.
addict.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
dehydration.
called
You're like,
rehab. That's what you really want to say, but we will call it exhaustion, sure.
yes.
No, shoot, I don't know. I wish I could give you a great example of that, but I think you're totally right that there are certain phrases that no one else on the planet uses except publicists.
The word sources to me is just such a tough word to use now because like sources, I mean, no, it's coming from them themselves.
Isn't it
Most
funny
of the time.
when I was a kid, I was like, oh my God. I was like, Selena Gomez's friend just like ratted her out to the magazine. And then it wasn't until years later, I'm like, that's like literally her PR team who probably gave that quote. I kept thinking that there were like dirty little neighbors and pizza guy deliveries who were like sending in these quotes. Like, probably not. Probably not.
I think people don't understand how much comes from either the celeb or the team, but it makes sense, and I don't knock that. I think that publicity and press is so necessary to stay relevant in Hollywood. You have to keep your name on the blogs or in the magazines or on the TV shows. And so how do you do that? Well, you leak out information about yourself or about your client to keep them on the tops of everyone's tongues. And
And
it just is the game.
And I think that's sometimes confusing too, because like, okay, for example, I mean, obviously I'm obsessed with Taylor Swift, you guys can probably tell, but whenever an article comes out about her and Joe Alwyn, right? Like there was one, I think maybe last year where like they attended an Oscars after party together. Nobody saw them. There's no photos, but they were referenced in a magazine article, and there was a quote from a source saying they were looking very much in love at the, at the after party. And I just think to myself, this girl does everything to make sure that you know nothing about her relationship. Don't talk about her relationship. You'll never know anything about us. We're never going to post a single photo on Instagram. We're so private. And then an article like that comes out, and I'm like, well, that had to come from your team, because if that article didn't happen, there was no photos, there was no tweets, nobody would have known that you gone out, but you pushed that photo out. So are there any celebrities that you think truly don't want any publicity, or do you think that everyone, even the private ones, want like a little bit of attention?
No, I think there's stars that don't want anything to, like Morgan Freeman. Where does he live? Like Montana or something? Like there's
okay, that's a
he
good example.
never wants to be covered in the news. I think it's easy to be a celeb who doesn't get any sort of media. Tina Turner, where does she live? Switzerland or something? Like she doesn't want any attention. There are celebs who have been so successful they don't need it anymore, and they don't court it. They don't go to the popular restaurants. They stay the fuck out of LA and New York because it doesn't do anything for them anymore.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
God,
Yeah, if you don't want to be
interesting.
seen, you cannot be seen. If you don't want to be talked about, like you could
It's possible.
Yeah, it's definitely possible.
And another question for you guys is, do you think People Magazine, Us Weekly, do you think they're going to exist 5 years from now? Or do you think with blogs and everything going online and turning into YouTube channels and TikTok accounts, nowadays when I pick up magazines, because I love to cut them up and like make little vision boards for myself, you're never going to want to buy a People or an Us because they're so thin and there's just barely any pages in them. Like, how do you see the future of that industry?
I think the brand will last. I don't
Okay.
know if the physical magazine will last.
Yeah.
I think it's just.
But the
we're a
nail salons
different-
need them. What else are they going to put on those
I
coffee
know,
tables, you
right?
know?
They'll just have to do little like
iPads.
I don't know,
Yeah.
tablets or something. Yeah, exactly. I think that those brands that are so big, they're so famous, and people associate them with celebrities. I think they'll live on through Instagram pages or TikToks or whatever, and they just have to change the way that they are producing their content for the consumer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the magazine will eventually go because it's like 4 pages now. It feels more like a pamphlet rather than a magazine.
It does.
Yeah, it's weird. The brand is like people know the name People. People know the brand Us Weekly.
Mm-hmm.
But, if you go into their offices, there's like no staff there anymore. It's kind of it's sort of weird. Like
Well, they don't need 75 writers.
that's true. They don't need that many
A
people
pamphlet.
anymore
Pamphlet.
Yeah.
to get it going. So so yeah, I don't know what happens to the actual magazine, but the brand name, the name alone will still be there. But I don't know how where the change is, because we're right now in that change. We're all trying to figure it out, including the brands.
Yeah. Now, this is one that was interesting. TMZ broke this story recently, so you guys probably are all over it, but it was the news that Angelina was basically the person who tipped the paparazzi off to her relationship with her and Brad. And when they were first dating, she would tell them where to come to find photos. And
we broke a very similar story because we had Spencer Pratt on the podcast.
Oh, I love him. He's messy.
I don't know, like a year ago. And he had said at that time that he was working with, was it Us Weekly at the time, Adam?
National Enquirer, probably Us.
No,
It's probably Us Weekly. I'd have to
it was
imagine
Us Weekly.
Yeah.
He was working with like the editor-in-chief of Us Weekly at the time because they were doing all their setup photos, him and Heidi at that time. And he said, yeah, I remember talking to him that was a tipped-off photo from inside the camp, that where they were going to be, their exact location in Africa. He fully said the first shots of Brad and Angelina were 100% set up shots. It was not something that a camera person happened to find them. And we were like, are you kidding me? Like, those were set up photos? Come to find out, it was Angelina who set up those photos.
Well,
so I was like, see?
Yeah.
Spencer Pratt's always right, guys.
Yes. Like him and Alex Jones, you're like, oh, every couple of those is like completely on. You find out years later. I also there's so many blind items about, for example, Suki Waterhouse calling the paparazzi on her and Rob Pattinson. Are there some celebrities that are notorious for like when they're in a relationship, they want the photos and their partner is like,
Taylor
God
Swift.
damn it. Yeah.
Dex, you're right.
Well, I mean, the photo of her and Harry Styles in Central Park walking around. I'm like,
Oh, that
what?
was
Like, what
the
celebrity would
biggest
do that? Yeah.
Set up bill crap ever. I mean, I don't think it's a surprise that the Kardashians do a lot of setup stuff.
Yeah, so we have a blind about this here, and I'm curious for your take on it. It says, it is great to have a discussion about paps and celebrity offspring, but the first question should be, what if the paparazzi are called by parents themselves and you are doing your best to make your child a public figure? And that was basically a blind item about how Northwest has been, saying all these, I think it's hilarious, but saying all of these things to paparazzi. Why are you waiting for us all the time? Or stop doing this. What are your thoughts on celebrity children having their photo taken? And how do you think that should be navigated?
That's up to whether or not the celeb,
The
wants
parent,
them,
you think? Yeah.
allows. Like, if Kim walks the red carpet with the kids, she's okay with cameras taking photos of her.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a different level. There are also reality stars that put their children on TV every single day. So taking photos of Kim with North or Saint or whoever, like that, I think is different than, let's say, I don't know. I'm trying to think of people that really hate that. Like Jennifer Gardner. Jennifer Gardner hates her children, photos being taken of her kids, or Halle Berry, or Pink. Like, there's some of them that they don't want their children having their photo taken, and you have to kind of know the celebs and which ones allow it and which ones don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's I had a story a while. This was a while ago. I don't forget. I kind of gave it to an outlet. Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively, they walk and pick up their kid every day from school, and the rule was, and came from them, that it was, hey, shoot me on my way to school. Then once I get to school, leave us alone, and the paparazzi were pretty respectful for that, because they knew they couldn't do anything when they're with the kids. It's not even worth the edit. It's not even worth the hassle. It's not even worth the frustration of shooting with the kids. So you shoot them on their way to the school. Then once they get there, you leave them alone. You just go, off with their day, because they're going to walk by with their kids, and it was just a waste of time. So
Yeah, although she was in the news recently, right, for sharing photos of herself pregnant because she was like, "There's 11 paparazzi waiting outside my house, like trying to get a photo of me, so I'm just going to release it first myself." Um, would you
true.
say that like they're like, let's say you have paparazzi as a group of people, is there like a certain percentage that you would say they're like, yeah, they respect the celebrity's wishes, and then maybe there's like a few rogue agents who will do the old school like jump out of a bush thing, or is that kind of in music videos from years past?
Yeah, I don't know if people really jumping out of bushes. At least I know that New York. Listen, in any
Not yet.
in
Not
any
that much
industry.
foliage in New
Yeah,
York.
yeah,
You jump out of a trash can. There's like a rat on
exactly.
you. Yeah.
In anywhere, in any industry, police, doctors, there's always going to be some bad apples,
Yeah.
unfortunately. For the most part, I always, I believe in people, and I hope, people will do the right thing. And you know what? I've seen that a lot of times with the paparazzi. I remember, a Halloween a few years ago, Hugh Jackman was trick-or-treating with his kids. And he's like, hey, guys, let's do some shots real quick. And everyone posed, they did all the shots. And then they just let him be. Of course, like one guy wanted to follow and get one different shot than everyone else.
Yeah,
But
but there's always the wacko, and
there's
like you said,
always
in
the
every
guy who's
group.
insane say, "Oh, I didn't agree to. We're trying to make a deal." And they one paparazzi goes, "Well, I didn't agree to this." And it's like, well, dude, just stop being a dick. So unfortunately, in any industry, you're gonna have some bad guys. But for the most part, it's like it's a two-way street. It's like, hey, they're trying to get the shot, and they're trying to go about your day.
Well, it's a
You got to
two-way
meet
street
somewhere in the
because
middle.
there's no sidewalks, and you got to walk in the middle of it. Get the best photo.
Yeah.
I just have one last question for you before we wrap things up, and this is very personal just to me. Anything on Conan O'Brien? He's the love of my life. I haven't heard anything bad about him. I hope I never will. I just think he's wonderful. Anything that you guys have heard?
Great. No, I've met him a bunch of times. Great guy, very nice,
Yay.
very good to his fans. He's huge. Like he's
Yes.
just he's like just a big head, big body. He's just big everywhere. He's just a big guy. However, I think Conan unfortunately got he was very lucky, but wasn't so lucky because I find him to be so talented. And I wish he was still doing late night TV because I think he'd be so good at it and was so good at it. But they always say don't meet your heroes, where Conan was one of the guys I'm really excited to meet because he lived up to every single second of it. He was just such a good person and good guy and good to
Yay.
the fans. It's always good when you meet those people. Like, again, someone
Yeah.
like Shaq is one of those people where you admire them so much. You're like, oh my God, they're Shaq. And then you meet them like, oh, he's exactly who you wanted them to be.
Oh, that's good. Okay, good. All right, we're ending on a happy note. Not every single person is, completely twisted up by Hollywood. Some people are great. And your podcast, Hollywood Raw, you guys have episodes. You said Wednesday is when you have interviews. We did an episode recently together, and then Friday is when you do the top 10 things recap for the weekend.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Your episode
And
is out.
Yes.
the episode is out.
Out
Go
now.
listen. We talked about all kinds of fun blinds on that episode. But listen, if you're looking for just a podcast that knocks down that fourth wall of Hollywood, we talk about all the behind the scenes stuff, the paparazzi content, the just how Hollywood works. I mean, when we talk to celebrities, it's not like, oh, tell us about your movie. It's Adam's favorite, I think, question is like, tell me what the craft services table was like when you were filming the movie. Like we just ask fun random questions to everyone, and getting different perspectives is really what we're all about. And so whoever runs a website has a very different perspective than a paparazzi who's selling their content to the website from than a celebrity who is getting their photo taken. And we try to get all of those perspectives, and it's been doing really well, and it's really a fun podcast, and people seem to be enjoying it.
I love it. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on. And yeah, if we do a little bit of blind items, a little bit of these insider fourth wall, and then I also listen to Celebrity Psychics. So you put it all together and it's like, oh my God, we've got the truth.
I love it.
All right.
Thank you
you
for
guys
having
so
us
much for
on. That was
coming
really
on.
fun. We really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
All right. Huge thank you for listening. Thank you so much for Dax and Adam for coming on. And once again, Fluently Forward is on Patreon. So if you want to go to patreon.com/fluentlyforward, Patreon is patreon.com. This week, we covered illegal things that celebrities have done, and we tried to keep it a little bit petty. Like O.J. Simpson is on there. We're not talking about O.J. Simpson in the way that you would have thought. We're talking about how he pirated satellite TV. We're talking about shoplifting and dining and dashing, and my favorite, Matthew McConaughey getting arrested while high, playing the bongos naked at 2:30 a.m. in his apartment and, disturbing the peace. I talk a little bit about the state of Gaylor online. Tensions are very, very high, very, very high before this album gets dropped. But how excited are you for next week? And we just have a host of other episodes on there as well. We talk about trending pop culture last week, and the week before, my family members came on and they all shared a story of an actual celebrity interaction they had had. Mel Gibson hitting on my mom, a funny story my sister had in New York, my brother going on a boat ride with Taylor Swift's dad. He took my brother and some friends out on a boat for New Year's Day. My sister-in-law Haley had a story literally about yachting and what Vladimir Putin's brother did on a yacht that was some sick shit. My dad and my mom went on a double date with Meg Ryan back in the day, and my brother-in-law Nelson, we really had to scrape the bucket with him, but he saw Emily Ratajkowski once in the city. That was kind of his contribution. So if you want to check all of those episodes out and many more, patreon.com/FluentlyForward. So thank you for hanging out with me today for this hour, and I will see you next week for another episode of Fluently Forward. Bye, guys.